I'm just back from a business meeting in the city center. It has been raining again the entire morning. I got super wet. I'm just here to get my laptop and a new jacket that isn't soaking wet. Got my laptop, got my jacket. Now it's time to head to the studio. I wanted to show you everything about my upcoming release.
Been dreaming of a place. I see your face beneath the walls of ivy. I've grown cold in winter's hold. I pray these walls will hide me. And I don't know where you are.
I even made it to the studio all dry. It stopped raining, which is just perfect, but I'm sure it will start soon again. So today's episode is completely about showing you my next release. It's called Rising or Rising Skeletons. Still not sure about the name. I always just refer to it as the Rising track. I made this track with Kaylee together. She is a singer and songwriter from LA. You might remember the episode where I was Skyping with her to discuss how to proceed on the track and what needs to be improved and changed. So you can say hi to the people, cameras down here.
Oh, hello!
And the track is actually already finished since a couple of weeks. There are still like small details I want to change, and I got the feedback back from all of my DJ and producer friends. So I will spend probably the rest of the day just working on the track. I just opened Logic and I completely forgot that yesterday evening before going to bed I updated my Mac OS, and now Logic is rescanning all of the audio units. 258. This will probably take 20 to 30 minutes. At least this is giving me the time to clean up this place. I've been collecting quite a lot of these bottles. And they're all each worth 25 cents. It's also a good opportunity to clean out the trash. I ate all of the birthday chocolate now within 1.5 weeks. I left it here in the studio. That was maybe a mistake. That's the entire project. It has 29 tracks. Here the first 8 or 10 are all of the drums. The next 10 are all of the melodic parts, the bass, the guitar and the piano, and the bottom ones are the vocals. I've programmed a simple house drum loop with Geist. I've showed you that in more detail in another video. I added a real sounding drum loop and another one playing hi-hats. Next, a very simple subby bass line made with Diva. I layered the bass with a sound from the Korg M1. It has way more attack. I've filtered out everything off the bottom end just to have the sound on top to give the bass a little bit more of character. And together with the sub bass. Added a bit of sidechaining to both basses, and now let's listen to it together with all of the drums. The general plan for this track was to keep the instrumental as simple as possible and to search for someone to put really amazing vocals on top of them and to let them shine. So I have these simple drums. They have small variations every 8 or 16 bars to make it more interesting. Also the bass is playing some variations in different parts of the song. Next up are all of the melodic elements. That's my favorite melody that I made for this track. I've used the Diva synth again. I went for a quite pluggy sound that fits nicely to an ARP and has a bit of an 80s vibe. I've played quite long with the filter settings to get the length of the notes right. I also changed it, of course, in here. Added a little bit of reverb. I've used the Valhalla Vintage Verb. And that's almost it, I think. Just another EQ to get rid of the low end. That's all I've made to this sound. The strings just mimic the bass, except for this part here in the chorus where they're playing the chord structure of the track, and I use the strings from the contract library. For me, is music all about balancing the contrast right. I love to have high strings or a high pad on top of the chorus. This makes it a lot wider, a lot brighter, and you really hear the difference between the other parts and the chorus. It just needs to open up. In this track I even used both, so here's also a pad sound also from Diva that is playing the same notes as the strings. And because I'm using strings from the contact library, they're just sampled strings, and I don't want everybody to hear immediately that those are not real strings, it's nice to just have a pad sound on top so that it's harder to hear. I'm kind of hiding my strings a bit behind the pad. I'd love to have real strings in my tracks one day, but it's super expensive. You need at least 4 people that play perfectly. And playing the strings perfect is probably one of the hardest things to do. It's super hard. Just creating the tone is like, I mean, with the guitar you have those segments where you can, I don't know what these segments are called in English, but with strings you have to guess where the tone is, or not guess, you have to learn where it is. And every time you move the finger onto another string, it needs to hit it perfectly on the right spot. So to everybody who's playing the strings, I have the highest respect for you. It is such a hard thing to learn. The next element in the track is a guitar that I recorded. You can see it here in the background. It's a really cheap guitar for less than €100. I don't even know what it's called, but you can just pick up any guitar. If it's brand new and you don't need it to play live, it's really enough to get a cheap one. You can correct all of the mistakes in the computer, and it really comes down to how you play the guitar and not what guitar you play. And that's what the guitar sounds like without any effects. It sounds super boring and that simple. Now let's put all of the effects on top of it and listen to it again. Sounds way more interesting with all of the effects. Now comes the next part, which is probably the most important one on this track. As I already said, I tried with this track to go for one that is a lot simpler, has a lot more room to have vocals on top of them that are really nice and can shine on top of the instrumental. And luckily with Kaylee I found someone that is really a remarkable singer and songwriter.
I see the sun rising, and I know there's no hiding. I see the sun rising.
I had an extremely productive day. I found all of the little mistakes and corrected the mixing as much as possible. I can't really tell you what I'm doing. It's really, I don't even know myself. I'm just trying here half a dB, there half a dB, a little bit in the EQing. It takes a long while, and the outcome are maybe 5 or 6% difference in the sound, but for me it's worth it, so I'm spending the time. I hope you're enjoying the new track. I think it's one of my best ones, and I'm really looking forward to share it with you. Probably in 2 or maybe even 3 months. It really depends on when the Shadow track is going to be released. I'm just waiting for one more signature until we can finally release it. Now it's time to get something to eat. I didn't eat for this entire day. I completely forgot about it. I was so busy. I also forgot my wallet, but luckily I have enough bottles to get something.